Caligula, the infamous Roman emperor who ruled from 37 to 41 AD, is often remembered as one of the most craziest and evil leaders in history. His name has become synonymous with excess, debauchery, and sadism. However, what if I told you that there's another side to his story, a side that many of his contemporaries saw as not crazy at all, but rather as an intelligent leader with an uncanny knack for knowing exactly how to push people's buttons? Join me as we delve into the life of Caligula and explore the question: was he crazy or just smarter than everyone else? You be the judge. Let's begin. At first glance, Caligula's behavior seems utterly baffling. How else do you describe throwing gold coins from a tower for the amusement of common folk? Hosting feasts inviting 8 men of only one type, bald, short, or fat, or chaining chariots to chariots like horses to a plow? Yet beneath this bizarre exterior, historians argue that Caligula was a mastermind of manipulation, keenly aware of the levers of power and the art of deception. For instance, he understood the Roman populace better than anyone else, even during his own lifetime. He was often seen as a man of the people. As historian Suetonius put it, he delighted in mixing with all ranks and orders: common people, freedmen, slaves, beggars, young men, athletes, old men, foreigners. This mingling wasn't just for show. It was a way for him to gather intelligence, to learn about the pulse of the city and its people. One particularly telling example of Caligula's understanding of Roman society was his choice of women. Unlike his predecessors, he didn't confine himself to the respectable matrons Rome had traditionally expected. Instead, he freely consorted with women of the night, prostitutes who were familiar with the underbelly of the city, the hidden corners where whispers of discontent festered. One might scoff at such choices, but they were actually a goldmine for a keen observer. Prostitutes weren't just passive partners. They were active participants in the social fabric of Rome. They heard the gossip, the complaints, the dreams, and most importantly, the plans of men. In the brothels and taverns where Caligula frequented, he wasn't just having fun. He was gathering information, bits and pieces that eventually formed a clear picture of the city's mood. When he took this information and used it to his advantage, people called him crazy. For example, he knew that the gladiator games were the bread and butter of Roman entertainment. So while the Colosseum was being constructed under his rule, he simultaneously set up free food and drink stalls around it. This wasn't generosity. It was a way to ensure maximum attendance at these games, which in turn made them more popular. Or how he hosted feasts inviting 8 men of only one type: bald, short, or fat. Historians have interpreted this as a mocking parody of the fastidiousness of Roman aristocrats. But what if it wasn't just that? What if he was testing the waters, gauging how people would react to such blatant displays of disregard for traditional norms? By pushing the boundaries of acceptable behavior, he could assess the limits of public tolerance and opposition. Historian Ronald Syme argued that Caligula deliberately cultivated an image of extravagance and folly to throw his enemies off guard. If they thought he was mad, they wouldn't take him seriously. And in the realm of politics, being underestimated is a superpower. While everyone focused on his outlandish spending or sexual escapades, he quietly solidified his power base, crushed rebellions, and expanded Rome's borders. His decision to build a pleasure boat that could carry 2,000 men and women, complete with shops, taverns, and even prostitutes, may seem insane, but it was actually a stroke of genius. By providing an environment where debauchery and entertainment were combined, he ensured the loyalty of a significant portion of Rome's population. These pleasure cruises were also a clever tool for solidifying alliances and rewarding supporters. On these boats, Caligula wasn't just indulging in luxury. He was cultivating an image of invincibility, a godlike ruler who could bring pleasure and excess to his subjects. The famous story of Caligula chaining chariots to chariots like horses to a plow is unjust an anecdote of his odd behavior. It was a calculated move to disrupt the status quo, to challenge the established order. By doing something no one had ever done before, he demonstrated that he wasn't bound by tradition or convention. This was a way to test the limits of what was possible, to see how far he could push the boundaries without losing the support of his people. However, some actions are so extreme that even a master manipulator like Caligula can't get away with them. Consider the infamous profugio, the reckless spending sprees that left Rome's treasury depleted. While this might appear as pure insanity, a look at Roman accounting reveals a deeper game. The profugio wasn't just about spending money, it was about sending a message. Caligula was essentially waging a financial war, battling the established system by undermining its very core, its fiscal foundation. By squandering vast sums, he challenged the authority of the Senate, the traditional stewards of Rome's finances. This brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Caligula's character, his sadistic tendencies. The stories of torture and murder that surround him may seem gratuitous and horrifying, but they were actually part of his grand design. In a society where power was a game of constant one-upmanship, Caligula used extreme measures to assert dominance. Torture wasn't just about inflicting pain. It was a spectacle designed to remind his subjects of their place. By publicly humiliating and agonizing over his victims, he showcased his absolute authority. Furthermore, he strategically employed fear and intimidation to keep the population under control. Those who plotted against him or dared to question his authority met not just with swift retribution, but with brutal public displays of punishment. These acts of violence were carefully orchestrated to send a message that echoed through the corridors of power and the marketplaces of Rome. Anyone who opposed the emperor risked not just their own lives, but the lives of those close to them. So was Caligula crazy, or just smarter than everyone? The answer, as with most things in history, is a nuanced one. There are glimpses of both in his actions. However, if we look beyond his bizarre behavior and examine his strategies, his understanding of human nature and his manipulation of power dynamics, we see the portrait of a man who was perhaps ahead of his time. A man who knew how to play the game of power better than anyone else, even if he had to break every rule in the book to do so. Caligula's legacy is a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that those who seem the craziest might just be the smartest of them all. His story serves as a cautionary tale for those in power, a warning that those who flaunt their wealth and indulge in excess might just be using it as a cover for more sinister pursuits. In today's world, where image is everything and appearances often conceal deeper motives, Caligula's story resonates with an eerie familiarity. In an age where political gamesmanship and strategic deception are commonplace, his methods of manipulation and control seem uncomfortably modern. The story of Caligula challenges us to look beyond the surface, to question what we see, and to understand that sometimes the greatest threats come from those who seem the least threatening. As we reflect on the life and times of this enigmatic emperor, we must remember that history is rarely black and white. Caligula may have pushed the boundaries of acceptable behavior and dabbled in the darkest forms of control, but he did it with a cunning and intelligence that cannot be ignored. His story is a testament to the complexities of human nature, and a reminder that those who seem the craziest might just be the ones who know the game of life best. Let's end with what might be the ultimate indication of Caligula's sanity, or perhaps his craziness, depending on how you view it. He enjoyed dressing as a woman and prostituting. Even though there's no evidence that he prostituted, he dressed as a woman and prostituted. He liked to disguise himself as a woman and solicit sex from men. What do you think? Was Caligula crazy, or just smarter than everyone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more intriguing historical tales.